Yes, I know my YouTube account has been verified. Thank you very much. Alright. Bear with me here. I'm an old man. Here, look at me. Hello. Seems to be working, I think. Alright. At some point... Oh, hey look, pop-out chat. That's handy. Again, bear with me. I'm an old man. Not always the best. Okay. So, this is the first episode of what I want to call the weekly punk dump. Which, hopefully sounds dirty enough. I do love a little bit of double entendre. So, the idea here is just to take all the little news stories that build up over the week, where I may not have had time to make full videos or something, and just kind of discuss it with you all. It's kind of like last week tonight with John Oliver, without John Oliver's obnoxious attitude. Which I just don't need it. Don't need it, don't want it, can't stand it. So, first one I wanted to talk about, let's pull it up here, go away, Washington Times bullcrap, is how Chelsea Handler, who I guess actually is a comedian, I did not know that. I mean that seriously, I didn't know. Though she does seem painfully unfunny. And judging by this picture, needs somebody to help her dress, because she looks like a mental patient in a insane asylum right there. Look at that. Whole white jumpsuit and all. Wow. But apparently Chelsea Handler came out to say that 50 Cent can't vote for Donald Trump because he's black. Did you know? Did you know, dear viewer, that your race chooses who and what you can vote for? Did not know that myself. I mean, does me being Hispanic mean I can only vote for Biden? Like, what are the degrees here? Like, is this some kind of South Park stick of truth system where the darker you are, the harder the game is? So that the darker you are, the more Democrat, left-leaning you are? And the whiter you are, the more right-wing you are? Because that kind of sounds racist. A little bit. A little bit. I mean, is it just me, or does that not sound just vaguely racist? So apparently she was, I think she was on Jimmy Fallon or something when she was talking about this. Because 50 Cent comes out saying he's going to vote for Trump because he is not paying no 62% in taxes. He doesn't want to go from 50 cent to 20 cent. But she's going, I had to remind him that he was a black person. Because apparently he forgot what his skin tone is. Which is impressive all on its own. Oh my god. Honey boo boo child. So he can't vote for Donald Trump. And that he shouldn't be influencing an entire swath of people who may listen to him because he's worried about his own personal pocketbook. Let's just note here his own personal. You see, it belongs to him. He owns it. Therefore, he gets to make decisions about how he feels about it, and the way he votes which will impact his personal life and property. It's almost like he's got free will. Checking for some like NSA cameras and shit flying in on me here. God knows they don't like free will any more than a Chelsea Handler apparently does, which is just fun. Just so fun. And goes right along with Joe Biden, who told radio host Charlemagne in May that if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. This is a surprising number of white people telling black people if they're black enough. Almost seems racist, doesn't it? That can't be right. White people aren't racist. Hollywood people aren't racist. Democratic white people aren't racist. They can't be. Yeah, that's not how it works. And I'm not Republican or... Good God. Good God, children. Come on. Don't be telling people how to vote. Don't demand that you are only black if you do such and such. That is some straight up garbage, and you ought to feel ashamed of yourself. Just shame. Pure shame. But that does lead me into... this whole episode I want to just cover all the last week's censorship topics, because there has been a lot of censorship making the rounds in the last week that I wanted to go over with you guys. Next one actually is even just as important. Transparency tube. So, oh Lord, this one might be the most egregious one of them all. Close something here. It's a new website, if you hadn't heard, obviously called Transparency Tube, where they took thousands and thousands of English YouTube channels and just put them in little boxes and decided if they were right-wing, left-wing, partisan, bipartisan, anti-SJW. And this is the site itself, and they allege that they used machine learning and so much more big fancy words to be sure that they didn't mislabel people. That was a lie. It was a very big lie that has been just making the rounds, and oh my God, some of my and probably your favorite YouTubers have been drug into this. I think actually for a second there you probably saw the quartering. Anna, that Star Wars girl, got lumped in here. Clownfish TV got labeled right wing. It's insane. And more importantly, it's disturbing to me how they're just deciding all of this. This is the bubbles I was talking about here. They're just deciding with no real input or anything else who is partisan left, partisan right, anti-SJW, social justice, late night talk show. Why the hell? Late night talk show really shouldn't even be on YouTube. Let's just get that right out of the way. Religious conservative, conspiracy, libertarian, socialist, MRA, not even sure what the hell that is, atheist, QAnon, white identarian, so white word I can't say on YouTube because YouTube is highly censoring speech. But let's not call that censorship. It's just you have to be careful about every little thing you say. And probably one of the most annoying ones to me is how they labeled Clownfish TV as like partisan right, anti-SJW, and all this other stuff, and they don't even talk about that stuff on their channel. Like, one of the hosts is very libertarian, which is actually different from conservative. I don't know how to break that to you. I'm just some punker douche canoe, and I know that. Look, you got freaking Josiah Rises on here. He's a nerd culture and entertainment world commentary YouTuber. Is he planning to vote for Donald Trump? Sure. But that does not mean that's what his channel's about. And anybody looking at this is going to be thinking, that's what these channels are about. That's all they do. And it's frustrating. Songs and concerts, Judicial Watch. See, they got them labeled partisan right, but in their own freaking bio, they discuss that they are non-partisan. They're trying to just hold the federal government to a higher standard. Basically, though, you have so many channels that are small and are now going to be labeled as such and such without their consent, without their knowledge. Check this out. Let's see if we can find her on here. Okay, what about Clownfish? Right here. Clownfish TV. Right, anti-SJW. Automatic classification. So there is no input on this. There's no... You have no right to appeal this decision. You get no say in any of it. And they're just going to decide what you are for you. And they're going to just... So anybody looks at this site is going to be looking at them as such and such. Partisan left, partisan right. Lord knows, if my channel was bigger, I'd probably be in here somewhere. God knows how well that would do. Since I don't neatly fit into one of their little boxes here. The whole thing is just insanity to me. Like, where do you get off just putting people in boxes against their will and declare that you're doing it for the good of the internet and the good of the YouTube community? You didn't actually ask the YouTube community their opinion on this. You just did it, and they're just like, hey, guess what you are, according to us. He said, here you got the quartering. Right, anti-SJW. He's libertarian. I mean, yeah, he says a lot of right-leaning stuff, but he's also discussed left-leaning topics. The guy's about as centrist as you're probably going to find. You just don't happen to like what he said, and according to your machine learning, you've decided what he is for him. I don't like people being put in boxes just in terms of the music they make, let alone their personality, their channel, their identity. So you can just bleep right off with this nonsense, alright? It's just a bunch of uncalled for bullcrap, and you need to just knock it off. This type of shit just shouldn't exist on YouTube. YouTube adjacent, none of it. And I can't stand the fact that it does. I really can't. Better understand this space. You're not helping anybody understand anything. You're just pissing on people's heads and trying to tell them it's raining. But speaking of data and not getting consent for it, gonna check out a little article here from, of all places, Kotaku, who are looking at, if you hadn't heard, the Oculus, or is it the Oculus? Yeah, Oculus Quest 2, the next VR headset from Facebook, is going to have a built-in feature where if you don't have a Facebook account, or if you delete your Facebook account, all of the stuff you have bought, all your games, all your DLC, skins, weapon packs, all that, gone in an instant. You do not get to keep things you bought with your money unless Facebook is allowed to keep tabs on you. And I can't believe I'm agreeing with them, but even as Kotaku says, Facebook's virtual reality push is about data, not gaming. They want to do anything they can to keep you on Facebook, to keep mining your data so that they can keep selling it. I doubt that the Oculus Quest 2 here is even going to make them a whole lot of money itself, or even the games they sell on it. You know what is going to make them money? Selling your data. Even just the data from you playing. The games you're playing, how long you're playing, what you're searching for in terms of games for it. So that they can sell that to companies like EA and Ubisoft, and you can get fun new little in-game ads and whatnot for their upcoming stuff. And if you don't like it, tough. It's not their problem. You're either with us or, well, that's really your only option when it comes to Facebook. And I, for one, do not need VR gaming enough to have Mark Zuckerberg giving me a colonoscopy. I really don't. And I imagine most of you feel the same way. I mean, sure, it's an interesting new avenue for gaming, and it could lead to all sorts of amazing new features and experiences, blah, blah, blah. I'm still not doing it if Mark Zuckerberg's asking me to turn my head and cough. I mean, look at this. I bring in some data from the American VR researcher Jeremy Bailenson that commercial VR systems typically track body movements 90 times per second. 90 times per second. You can't even just... Your muscles can't even twitch with this thing on without Facebook knowing about it. Right down to just the littlest, probably muscle twitches you don't even feel, Facebook will know about and track. And it has to display the scene appropriately, and high-end systems record 18 types of movements across the head and hands. Consequently, spending 20 minutes in a VR simulation leaves just under 2 million unique recordings of body language. So now they have a fun new way of tracking not just your feelings that you post, or the things you search for, or your beliefs in every which way. Now they can actually track your body language, match that with things you post and search for, and just create an even more hyper-specific image of you as a person that they can then sell to different companies. using this thing, might as well just admit that you're becoming Facebook's little slave. I mean, that can be used to identify you specifically because that body language is unique to each person. They can track down every little tidbit about you through this. Now, of course, Facebook is going to say, we don't collect and store images or 3D maps of your environment on our servers today. They said this last year. Sure, we won't do it now. We're not going to promise we wouldn't do it in the future. So next, we might just, keep a track of what your living room looks like and what all we can see of your house looks like and where you live and the stuff you own, and just keep mining down your data until we know every bloody little thing about you. You ain't gonna be able to take a sneeze without us knowing. Literally. Yeah. And they're saying that they want to use all this data to create augmented reality environments, which I just don't believe. It's no better than Google Glass, where people could be recording, or Google could be recording everything you're seeing every time you wear the stupid thing. That's really what this is all over again. And all we can go on is faith that Facebook won't abuse this, that they won't sell this data, that they won't just keep mining it harder and harder, or that organizations like the NSA, the FBI, any alphabet soup government agency will not once again manipulate this system to get data on you. Which the government has proven in the past, we cannot trust them with data. They're just as hungry for it as any major corporation is. And what then are... Just think of the government being able to have that much hyper-specific info about you as an individual. And tell me that just doesn't sound like some Fahrenheit 451 or 1984 Orwellian BS to you. That they know your very body language. So I frankly think Facebook can just piss right off with this whole concept. And unless you want to basically sell your soul to Mark Zuckerberg, you might want to skip the Oculus Quest 2 and get a VR headset from somebody more like Sony or Steam. Because they are not much more trustworthy, but they are just enough that you don't have to fear that they're going to just strip everything away from you. And once again, speaking of stripping away, got an article coming in from Polygon that I want to use as a jumping off point to discuss what's been going on recently on YouTube, which is just so fun. Because the other day, I think it happened, I first heard about it Thursday of last week, when PewDiePie, just about the biggest channel on YouTube, suddenly was not showing up in searches. Like, his channel itself did not show up when you searched for it. His videos were not showing up, his newest videos. The only ones that appeared were from a year or two more back. And as for his absolute latest video that had released that day, basically got no views for him. I mean, for PewDiePie, he can get well over 1 million views inside of hours. And yet this one, he couldn't get even a couple 100,000 views inside of, God, it was 8 hours later, and it had only gotten a few 100,000 views. So it started getting concerns that, was he shadow banned? Are YouTube going through shadow banning channels that they don't agree with? And instead of admitting that they don't like it and we're trying to get you to go away, we're just going to silence your channel, stop you from showing up in views, stop you from showing up anywhere on the site, so that eventually, maybe if no one really notices, you'll just disappear and give up your channel and delete it finally, just out of frustration. I mean, obviously, from the title you can see that Polygon doesn't necessarily believe that's what's going on. And after, God, almost a day or more, YouTube finally did mostly fix what had gone wrong with this channel, so now you can find it again, and his notifications are going back out, and his videos are showing back up in searches and things. But it's just the fact that, can we really believe that this was an accident? Or did they, try and dick him over? Which is what it feels like they were actually trying to do. I mean, they're officially saying, we don't shadow ban anyone. But Twitter said the same thing until those documents leaked where they were discussing who they're going to shadow ban. I mean, it's just a bunch of nonsense. Just, obviously, YouTube has been pushing for more late night talk shows and celebrity channels like Brie Larson's to become the big thing for them. They are really kind of pushing down individual creators, especially small channels like mine, because it's so much harder to control that kind of content. With late night talk show hosts, the kind of watered down, unoffensive content you're going to get. They're not going to really push back against any kind of narrative YouTube doesn't like. They're not going to say things against big corporations that YouTube is courting. It's going to be nice, easy content to just fling out there and force down people's throats. They seem to be moving away from what built YouTube up, which is creators like PewDiePie, or The Quartering, or Heel versus Babyface, who did a video himself on YouTube's banning and shadow banning of channels. Because his channel, him, Mr. H, plenty other channels in the Fandom Menace vein are suddenly just, their videos are just dying on the vine. They cannot get any traction with them all of a sudden, which is mysterious when things like this PewDiePie alleged shadow ban are coming about. And it does make you wonder what is really happening behind the scenes. Is YouTube finally just getting ready to choke out the channels they don't care for? Are they going to use data from things like Transparency Tube to just be all, bye Felicia, and just knock them out once and for all? And just create the milquetoast platform that deep down in their heart of hearts they truly want? Which is a little scary to think about when you're a small creator like me, who's discovering just how frustrating YouTube can be. especially their copyright claim system. Because if you didn't know, yesterday I put out a whole video breaking down the story and character issues in The Boys Season 2 that, according to YouTube, was copyright claimed by Amazon through a visual claim inside of a minute after it released. Sure. Somebody watched my whole video to copyright specific sections of it. Mind you, this video is about a half hour long, and they saw all the problems they had with that half hour long video inside of 30 to 60 seconds. It's impressive that you could have done that, but okay. I totally believe you, YouTube. Sure. It was not an automated bot who just saw something about the boys and decided, nope, don't like that. So I'm still sitting here in limbo waiting for my appeal to go through, declaring that it is fair use, because fair use is becoming a dirty word to YouTube, and people like PewDiePie, who do a lot of streaming things and things like that, are becoming a menace to them, because we don't want to have to deal with you anymore. We want nice, easy to digest content like Jimmy Fallon. Hooray. You can bite me, but yeah. Again, what are we gonna do? Which brings up something a little fun related to Google and streaming rights. Because if you hadn't heard about the crap storm that was kicked off on Twitter last week from Alex Hutchinson, the creative director of Stadia Games and Entertainment's Montreal studio, formerly known as Typhoon Studios. He's one of the absolute highest people in Google's Stadia platform, which is their fun new streaming platform where you can stream your games from your computer or your laptop or your phone or what have you without having to have them downloaded. You can just play them anywhere, anytime. That was also a lie. Stadia's been floundering harder than even Google Glass did. So the other day, this absolute genius, this titan of industry and thought, came out and said in a tweet that streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. He wrote, "It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use." Oh, sweet summer child. To be saying that streamers need to be paying a license fee to the companies of the games they stream while being the creative director of a streaming platform is just hilarious. Let me ask you, Hutchinson, are you and Stadia paying for a license to be able to for your customers to stream those games? Because yes, Stadia's customers are paying for those games, but are you paying the publishers and developers for a license to have all this content on your streaming platform? How big of a chunk are you giving them? I mean, if just regular Twitch streamers need to pay to stream games, shouldn't you? Yeah? You who works for a multi-billion-dollar company? I mean, I don't know. It was probably the dumbest hot take of the year in a year that will probably be known for hot takes. And it ended up being so hot of a take that Google and Stadia itself were just like, nope, 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 not touching that with a, not touching that with a bleeping 500-foot pole. They just immediately just went rushing away from this man. He didn't have a chance in hell of getting their support. They actually came out as to this site, 9 to 5 Google, and many other sites saying the recent tweets by Alex Hutchinson do not reflect those of Stadia, YouTube, or Google. Just at the same time that Google's global head of gaming for YouTube, Ryan Wyatt tweets out, "We believe that publishers and creators have a wonderful symbiotic relationship that has allowed a thriving ecosystem to be creative, one that has mutually benefited everyone. YouTube is focused on creating value for creators." Bullshit. Publishers and users. All ships rise when we work together. So basically, everyone's just being like, that guy does not speak for us. We don't know what he's talking about. Don't listen to him. And quite frankly, he's probably going to be out of a job in about a week. Like, by this coming Thursday, I would not be surprised if Alex Hutchinson announces his departure from Stadia. That naturally will have nothing to do with this take. It'll just be that he's decided to focus on other things, to move forward in his career. Not that he got thrown out so hard that his butt's still burning, because they just could not have somebody coming after streamers be the head of a streaming platform. That would just be titanically stupid to do. Just like it was, well, titanically stupid of him to have said it in the first place. But what you gonna do? I mean, I support this man's right to say it. He has every right to say whatever he wants on social media because it is a free speech platform. Allegedly. Supposedly. Kinda. Sort of. A little bit. So, he can say it, but at the same time, Google, YouTube, and Stadia can all come together and be like, yeah, we don't want this man tied to our company in any way. So good luck, Alex. You're gonna need it. Speaking of free speech and social media platforms, oh, Twitter. So, I started looking into this after I saw that Heel vs. Babyface, great channel, who I'm sure most of you already know about. But if you don't, check out Az at Heel vs. Babyface. He's one of my favorite content creators. He got placed in Twitter jail for 12 hours because he linked to a Mamology 101 video that was looking at possible voter fraud going on. And I saw the video before it was done away with. And this is what Twitter says he did to violate their terms of service. That, where was it? He thought he had posted their reasoning in here somewhere. Basically, they said he was spreading misinformation and hate speech. Mind you, even Memology 101 didn't say one way or the other if this was for sure voter fraud. He was just asking his viewers and anybody else who came across the video to tell him what they thought it looked like. And to me, it did look like voter fraud. This man opened up a ballot, which he's not supposed to be doing. He's just supposed to be sorting them. He opens it up, reads through it, takes out a pen, marks it in a different way, then slides it back in and goes to put it away before realizing, oh, I'm being filmed looking at and marking someone else's ballot. This doesn't look good. Even the person recording it suddenly veers away when they're like, oh boy, we shouldn't probably have this out there. That could look bad. Whoopsie. And so, obviously, Memology 101 wants to know what people think about that. Which he's got every right to, because, I mean, come on, dude. It was pretty flagrant. It was hard to say that wasn't exactly what it looked like. And all Heel versus Babyface does is retweet the video from that Memology put out. And next thing he knows, he's getting sent to Twitter jail. And this has been going on a lot. The whole last week, well, more than just even this whole last week, there are just subjects that Twitter is just clamping down on. Facebook as well, saying, you will not discuss that. We will mark you as misinformation. We will take down your tweet. We will just wipe it from the internet that you said something that we feel goes against our policies. Now, mind you, Twitter, Facebook, all these social media platforms are protected under a federal government statute, the Federal 240 regulations, that say that Twitter and these places are not responsible for the things that people say on their platform. They are literally just a platform for people to come in and speak their minds, say what they want. They are not supposed to be able to curate, i.e. censor, what you can and cannot post on your account. That's the whole idea here, is that this is a free, open platform for you to be able to say pretty much whatever you want and have it be defended by the First Amendment. And if somebody doesn't like it or they want to try and sue over it, they can't sue Twitter or Facebook directly because they are not responsible for what people say on their sites. Yet all of a sudden, they're deciding to do things like, where was it? They're making some features like the misinformation label, or just outright turning things off. Like you got here from the New York Times, Twitter will turn off some features to fight election misinformation. But how do they get to decide what is misinformation and what isn't? And what rights do they get to turn things off to stop people from talking about whatever they want to talk about? See, that's the slippery slope here. Doesn't matter if you're left-leaning, right-leaning, centrist, apolitical, whatever. gigantic corporations such as Twitter and Facebook are trying to decide what you can see, what you can say, and what you can do regarding the election for now. But who's to say it's going to stop there? We already got the ability now. We can just shut things off. We can just delete your tweets. We can label it however we want to discredit you, to hide anything you're saying on our platform. So they are essentially getting to decide what you get to say and where you get to say it and who it will be seen by. Which is, again, some Orwellian 1984 crap. Nobody should be deciding what you get to say or believe. I mean, if they want to operate that way, go to a country similar to China, where you can have that kind of authoritarian control over your platforms. I mean, if that's what you want, fine. But that is not how things are done in the US, Europe, and most other places in the West. So you can just bleep right off with that nonsense. You don't get to decide you just don't get to decide any of this, let alone just get to do that and keep your 240 regulation protections. I'll be right back. What? What?
Damn thing, Spotify shit. It's interfering and it took the damn watch list off. I can't exit out or anything. It just won't let me in.
Sorry about that. That is another thing about being a very, very, very small YouTuber. Which is even worse now that YouTube is trying to silence channels they don't like, is you can't always just have uninterrupted time to live stream, because you still have other jobs and responsibilities to handle as your channel grows. So getting back to what I was saying, they can just give you a timeout, for example, before a person can hit the button to retweet a post from another account. And if users try to share content that Twitter has flagged as false, a notice will warn them that they are about to share inaccurate information. But again, you have to ask who's deciding what is accurate, what is inaccurate, and what people should and shouldn't be allowed to post. Basically, by putting you in a little timeout before you can retweet something, they're hoping that you'll just give up on retweeting it or discussing this topic. Because by the time your little timeout is over, you'll have moved on to something else. It's just naked, unashamed manipulation of their user base. They want to very much curate what happens on their platform all of a sudden, but also not be sued, have total protection from the government, but also get to do whatever the hell they want. You guys are going to have to pick a lane here, and you're going to have to pick it soon. Because this is turning into what we're seeing here from the People's Daily China, a China state-affiliated media service, who are saying that China now demands, not requests, demands China-based branches of ABC, the Los Angeles Times, Minnesota Public Radio, Bureau of National Affairs, Newsweek, and Feature Story News declare information about their staff, finance, operation, and real estate in China within 7 days. So the Chinese government is coming in saying, we are going to have every tiny little detail about you and the people who work for you within the next 7 days, or else. Naturally, they don't exactly say what happens if you don't comply. Odds are they will be deported and their operations will be shut down if they don't give in to the CCP's demands. Which honestly should be concerning for anybody who works for these companies. Should be concerning to all of us, really, because once again, we're just seeing unashamed, unmasked censorship and manipulation from major corporations and governments who are deciding that your right to security and secrecy of any kind is gone. We are going to be able to decide what you talk about, what you think about, where you are, what you're doing, what you buy, what you search for, everything. And if we don't like it, we'll just shut it off. We'll just shut you down. We'll shut off your Twitter account. We will silence your Facebook posts. We'll eliminate your ability to function as a business. Either do what we say or die, basically. It's all just, from a punker standpoint, punks have been screaming about this kind of thing, and that this exact situation was going to happen since the early 70s at least. We've been screaming that censorship is coming. Corporations will own you in every sense of the word. Like, it's ironic that Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out soon, because we're moving into a cyberpunk type of world where corporations are the true government who control every little detail of your life. And it will get worse unless you say, no, this has got to stop. We are not going to just let you mine every bit of our lives for data that you can sell to each other. We are not going to allow you to control our businesses, shut down our YouTube channels and the like. It's all very frustrating, and hell, you can go back even further to people like Charlie Chaplin in The Great Dictator. He gave a speech at the end. Let's see if we can find that. Great Dictator speech. Because he was saying that you, the people, have the ability to make this life a truly great and free and special place. You, the people, have the power. Bear with me a little here. As he said here, the way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. It's just, like, this came out in the 1940s, and it's just as relevant now as it was then. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. You are not machines. You are not cattle. So in the name of democracy, Rise up. Defend your rights to privacy. Defend your rights to your data. Be willing to just say no to this censorship BS. So, I am Punk 5. This has been your weekly punk dump. If you enjoyed it, let me know. If there are changes to this format you would like to see me make, let me know. The idea here is to just gather up the news from the last week every Monday and just go over it with you guys. Probably having a specific theme like this week had of censorship. And let me know what you think. I'd love to get some feedback. I can't improve unless I get feedback. So let me know in the comments. Until next time, I'm Punk5, and stay curious and safe out there, everyone.